My name is Liz O'Connor. I'm from St. Charles, Illinois, and I'm 60 years old. AFib was not fun to live with. I would ride my bike, and when I was in AFib, I couldn't go up hills. I was definitely winded. Even walking, I avoided hills. Anything with an incline was tough.
Well, atrial fibrillation is an unusual disease. Some people feel none of their episodes and some people feel all of their episodes. But regardless of whether you feel it or not, there are big risks associated with atrial fibrillation. It can cause heart failure, premature death, and dementia. But the major concern about atrial fibrillation is stroke risk. People with atrial fibrillation have a 5-fold increased risk of stroke compared to those without AFib.
Atrial fibrillation is the type of arrhythmia, basically irregular heartbeats when irregularity comes from the atria, the top chambers of the heart. During atrial fibrillation, they contract very regularly at very high rates.
And I tried several different medications throughout this whole experience, and I was very sensitive to the meds, so I had different side effects. My doctor's like, you know what, there's one more med we could try, but it requires hospitalization, and he said, you know, we got to make sure it's safe, and I'm thinking, no way do I want to do that.
The approach to atrial fibrillation really is one of increasing intensity. We try medical therapies first, drugs called antiarrhythmic drugs, but they're successful in maybe half the patients. If that fails, we often move on to ablation, and in this case, ablation was also unsuccessful at controlling her atrial fibrillation. So we really weighed what her other options were, and we felt that her best option was a minimally invasive surgical approach, and we do something here called a transthoracic or TT Maze procedure.
TT Maze procedure is minimally invasive approach when we make small incisions on the side of the chest. Using special instruments, we create scar patterns on the outside of the heart, which prevents atrial fibrillation from happening and persisting.
So one thing that's really quite unique about this is that this minimally invasive or TT Maze procedure is a joint effort between the cardiac surgeons and the electrophysiologists. Remember, the surgeons are working on the outside of the heart, but we recognize that there are areas of the heart that they can't get to, and that is the realm of the electrophysiologists. We take our catheters, go on the inside of the heart, and connect the lesions that they were unable to get to by focusing on the outside.
TT Maze is a team sport like any other cardiac surgery. Dr. Passman, my electrophysiology colleague, he comes in at crucial moments of the operation and helps us to decide whether the lesions which were created outside on the heart are complete or not, and whether we need to do additional ablation.
Well, when I heard about this new minimally invasive procedure, I was over the moon.
Top benefits for the patients of this minimally invasive Maze procedure are avoidance of the big median sternotomy, which is incision in the middle of the chest, avoidance of the heart-lung machine, which is good in itself, and the fact that patients can get to their normal lives sooner.
Dr. Trilla was awesome. The whole team here at Northwestern gave exceptional care. They all work together as a team, doctors, nurses, therapists, experts in their field.
The advice that I would give to a patient struggling with atrial fibrillation is to have hope. There are amazing options that are constantly being developed and being perfected, and it's important to go to places that are working on these things. You know, we have great therapies that were not in existence 10 or 20 years ago, and it's really a matter of getting in the right hands and getting aggressive therapies.
This procedure was definitely a complete success in my eyes, and my family's eyes. They can tell a big difference too. Since I no longer have AFib, I feel like I have a new outlook on life. More energetic, happier. I'm just like my old self.